Anneliese, and welcome back for another episode of Parking in Motion. Today I've got Jefferson Martins with me. He's our Director of IT, and I figured who better to talk about our SOC II Type II audit than him. So welcome to the show, Jefferson. Thank you so much for being here, and welcome back to Houston.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Yes, so why don't we just jump into it, and why don't you give us an overview of what SOC II Type II compliance is?
Sure. Yeah, let's start with the basics. So SOC 2, or Service Organization Control 2, is a compliance framework developed by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, or the AICPA, and it focuses on how companies handle their customer data based on 5 trust criteria, which are security, availability, processing integrity, confidentiality, and privacy. So SOC 2 Type 2 is different than Type 1, where Type 1 is just a one-time audit.
Okay.
Right? And SOC 2 Type 2, it's ongoing.
Okay.
So it evaluates security controls over an expanded period of time, between 6 to 12 months. And that means that we're not just meeting the standards on paper, but we're also proving that our systems and our processes work in real world scenarios.
Okay. So basically, SOC 2 Type 1 is a snapshot at a particular moment in time, similar to like a balance sheet. And SOC 2 Type 2 is more like your annual P&L, right? It's over a period.
Right. It's continuous. It's ongoing. So with Type 2, we have a yearly audit where we're going to demonstrate that we have all our compliances and processes in place to recertify.
Okay. So what does this mean for a company like DESIGNA?
So for DESIGNA, we're constantly innovating. We're always trying to bring in cutting edge technology to the parking industry and to our systems. So with that being said, there's a lot more challenges specifically from the cybersecurity standpoint.
Okay.
So with SOC 2 Type 2 compliance, that means that we emphasize heavily on security in our cloud-based systems to ensure that our customers could trust us with their data, and we have rigorous security policies in place to make sure that we proactively manage risk and we're not just reacting to threats.
Okay.
Again, it's not just a check in the box. So it's an ongoing commitment to security, reliability, and compliance.
Okay. So it seems like this SOC 2 Type 2 is more important than ever for the parking industry in particular. Can you talk more about how important it is at this moment in time in this rapidly changing technological world?
So now, so let's talk about the bigger picture for the parking industry. The parking industry is rapidly evolving with more digital and cloud-based solutions being integrated with our daily operations. The industry itself is moving to smart parking, automated payments, and real-time analytics. And cybersecurity it becomes a top priority. So with SOC 2 Type 2 compliance, there's a new benchmark for the industry and for security in general, for our customers to trust us with their data.
Yeah.
And so what does this mean for the customer themselves? So it's being able to have safe access to their control systems, preventing unauthorized breaches, or reliable connectivity between the parking solution nowadays with so much integration with other systems to ensure that everything is secure and we're not the point of failure for an ERP system or any other type of integrations with the parking solution. So and lastly, reliability. So our customers can rely on us to ensure that they're not only going to have the confidentiality of their data, but the availability with compliance.
Okay. Why don't we start to talk about our actual experience prepping for the SOC 2 Type II audit and actually going through the audit? I don't think a lot of people really realize how HR heavy this process is. I mean,
Mhm.
about 50% of the audit and all of the requirements that go into it, it's all HR or general business related. It's not just all IT. I mean, I know for me, so I oversee our HR department, and I mean, I've got a list of things that HR was responsible for during this whole thing. So we had to, and again, this was harder, particularly for DESIGNA because we went through merging 4 companies recently. So that's what made this whole thing so challenging for us.
Right.
But you know, when you're combining all of these companies, yes, one company might have had they were doing their performance reviews this way, another one was doing it that way. They had a different employee manual. It was all of these things, and it was particularly hard. You know, we made the decision. Okay, we want to achieve this SOC 2 Type II compliance.
Right.
Now we really have to get all of our processes and procedures in place so that we have, you know, that timeline so that the auditors could go back and, you know, check over that range. So for HR requirements, I mean, you've got to be doing annual performance evaluations. You've got to do an annual assessment of everybody's training needs.
Right.
All of your policies and your employee manual has to be signed off annually. It's not like you can just do it on the first day and then that's it. No, it has to be done every single year. Even if there's no changes, it still has to be acknowledged. You have to have job descriptions for all of the positions, including executive management. And like, how can you get an all-encompassing job description for, you know, your executive management? I mean, I guess you could just do other duties as assigned,
Right.
which is literally everything. Um, you have to evaluate all of the candidates during the recruiting process. So, you know, that's grading all of them on all this different criteria. You know, they don't set the criteria that you're using, but it all has to be uniform, and it has to be documented, and it has to be kept, you know, in one place. Of course, you've got to do background checks, which is standard, but you know, you've got to do them. And depending on the position, you might do different things. You know, if you're hiring an accountant, you know, you might want to definitely pay extra attention to see if they did have any criminal background. If there's something like credit card fraud or anything like that that pops up, obviously you wouldn't want that person in that particular position. So, you know, some things you can just brush off, not much. Not
Right.
much, but you know, you have to pay particular attention when it comes to some positions.
Right. It's the level of trust, right?
Yes.
So being part of going through SOC 2 Type 2 is really, from the DESIGNA standpoint,
Mhm.
it's the standardization of processes.
Yes.
That was one of the most difficult things, was, you know, merging these companies and
Mhm.
having different processes in place, was to be able to standardize across the board,
Yes.
for HR,
Mhm.
for IT as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's the standardization of, you know, how do we maintain this product, these systems.
Mhm.
And me personally, it's documenting everything.
Yes.
It, you know, the SOC 2 Type 2, it's heavily on documentation,
Yep.
which it's not easy for anybody.
No.
And
Especially when you're just trying to keep your head above water, when you've got
right.
this project, this project, this project, everything going on, and then on top of it, you still need to document it. And like, yes, it's good practice, but man, it really takes it out of you.
It does. And as we all know, IT people don't like to document.
Hmm.
So for my team, it was, you know, we were already doing certain processes,
Yes.
and, you know, we still have had a high level of security and compliance.
Hmm.
Just being able to put that into a framework,
Hmm.
into documentation where we could supply the auditor, that was challenging.
Yeah, and I will say, when we were merging the four companies together and we were doing, implementing all of these new or combined policies and procedures, it didn't come without pushback. Some people can be so used to doing things a certain way, and then
Right.
all of a sudden it's changed. And we got a little bit of grief on it, but overall, it pushed us in the right direction. And in this rapidly changing world, we have to be adaptable. That's the only way you're going to survive.
Right.
So it was a challenge, to say the least. But some of the other things that we also have to keep track of from an HR standpoint was, and this is particularly important for your IT guys, but access authorization and
Right.
revocation forms. I know one guy in particular on your team, he gets so upset with me if I don't like if I don't revoke somebody's email access right away. He's on me. But that's great. I
Right.
mean, we need that.
Right. And it's part of the standardizing onboarding,
Yes.
offboarding
Yes.
processes. And, a lot of the guys come from security backgrounds. So as soon as somebody leaves the company, through goodwill or not, we're turning those systems off.
Yeah, because you never know. Sometimes you think a separation meeting, you might do like a final interview, an exit interview. You might think that they go great. And then, you hear a few days later that they're not so happy with you.
Right.
And that's always shocking. But yeah, so, you have to treat everybody exactly the same. You have to keep it uniform. And then another thing from a training perspective is we have to do CPE, continued professional education. We have to track all of that.
Right.
So there's a couple of people in our organization that have to do CPE to keep up with their licenses and their certifications and things like that. And, it's not something that they can track by themselves. When we have this SOC II Type II requirement, we have to track it in HR as well, or by management, so that we have all that documentation when the audit comes along.
Right.
And then we also had to implement, which I'm actually really excited for, but we have a mentorship program that we implemented as a result of this whole process. And it's going to go hand in hand with our workforce training development program that we are about to launch. I'm very excited about it.
That sounds amazing.
Yes, we're really trying to promote and develop our people from within. So basically what we're doing is we're about to go through our annual reviews, and we're going to assess their current job roles and responsibilities.
Right.
We're going to say, hey, are you happy with what you've got? Where do you see yourself in 1 to 3 to 5 years? What's your goal?
Right.
And how do we get you there? And coming up with an actual plan quarter by quarter or year by year of the different duties that their manager is going to start assigning to them or training them on, and putting that that training plan in place, even when it comes to certifications. Okay, you're about to take on these tasks. Let's get you this related certification so it's an easier transition for you. So I'm really excited about that, and it will help a lot with SOC 2. So we'll have tons and tons of things to give those auditors.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the audit, right? So it's really, a company as a whole, we want to take care of our employees.
Yes.
And we want to make sure that this is not just a job. Right? This is a career.
Yes.
And, especially me growing up in the IT world, some people are desperate for guidance. So with the mentorship program, having these conversations, these evaluating where they want to be, not just, this is your job, do your job.
Yes.
But continuous education, preparing them for the next step. That is amazing.
Yes.
And I'm so excited to be part of that, and talking to my guys and as a whole with the company. It's very exciting.
Yeah, no, I mean, it does wonders for the company culture. And I'm really excited to see all of our, our rising stars reach those senior management level positions, because, these are our future senior managers.
Right.
So I'm excited to develop them from within. So some other general business requirements that we had to do was, of course, KPIs, contract templates, evidence that the management assesses annually that no incompatible job duties exist. So this would be like, going back to the accounting example, making sure that you don't have somebody in that position where they, maybe have a questionable background, or they don't have the training to do the job that they're in. You wouldn't put a brand new, fresh out of college accountant into the finance controller position. It's not going to work. It's going to be a train wreck.
Right.
So just kind of making sure that everybody's role makes sense for their training and their education and just their background in general. But some other things that we had to do, we had to fork over those management meeting notes, which those are always fun.
Right.
And then fraud assessments, business continuity plan, all of the documented company processes. It was a lot. It was a hard time for me. I'm not gonna lie. It got pretty dark there for a second, but we made it out on the other side, and we are in such a better position for it now.
Yeah. It's all worth it.
Yes.
Going through the entire process. I know for HR, for you especially, it was a lot to handle. For me, luckily enough, I have, a great team where I could, ask for help, and I have the sysadmins and the network engineers and the security engineers to be able to gather the documentation.
Yes.
And it wasn't all on me. So very happy that.
I will say it wasn't all on me as well. I want to give a shout out to my colleague, Megan. She is our HR and facilities administrator, and she did a ton of work in the process. So I'm not taking all of the credit by any means. It was kind of an all hands on deck effort too.
Absolutely.
We had some of the guys in the back in the warehouse helping us out, and it was everybody. We got all of the managers involved. We had a weekly call on it, a weekly meeting, and it got hot for a second there. It got a little heated, but like I said, we're on the other side, and we're in such a better position for it. And we also, as a result, got to implement all of these really cool things like our HRIS system, Bamboo, which makes all of this documentation so much easier. And we also have a way to report unethical behavior through reportit.com, which we didn't have that before. So that was really cool. And we're also about to launch another training platform that will make those that workforce development plan a little bit easier, because we'll be able to uniformly introduce the company to all of the things that they need to know, the policies, the processes, any department or position specific training. So I'm really excited about our Absorb launch, which is it's going to happen this week. But what would you say was the hardest part for your team in general?
I'd say the hardest part would be the documentation.
Yeah.
It's, you could do the job all day, but when you ask somebody just to write it down, oh my God, it's difficult. But we got through it. It's something that we had to do, and we're much better for it now. Having that documentation in place helps us move forward and make our processes better. So it was just a starting point. Now, we're all in. All we have to do now is update the documentation through the yearly audit, which not as difficult to do, but it also gives us the opportunity to review our practices, review our processes, and just make them better. Yeah. So that's...
The job never stops.
It doesn't.
Honestly, I'm always looking forward to the next month. Like, I could take, some vacation. It'll be slow for me. And no, the next project, it pops up just like that. So that's something that I have learned in my career, is the job just never stops. But hey, that's how we pay the bills.
Exactly. That's part of it.
So thank you so much, Jefferson, for joining us to talk about SOC II Type II. I know you and I trauma bonded over the whole process, but anything else you'd like to leave our viewers with today?
I just appreciate the opportunity. Looking forward to all the progress that we're making here at DESIGNA. It truly is a wonderful company to work for, and I'm just looking forward for the future.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thank y'all.